Hey everyone, my name is Charlie and today I have my May TBR. This will also include my TBR for the Asian Readathon as hosted by Read with Cindy or Read with Cindy, Read by Cindy. I still haven't learnt what her username is, even after all this time. Channel name? This is just not going well. Either way, wasn't changing my shirt for this, wasn't changing the hairstyle. The Asian Readathon is all about celebrating Asian literature, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a link to the announcement video. There might even be other creators involved with this. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Either way, there were a series of prompts and a group read of Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I have that book. I won't be reading that book, but I've substituted it for some other books that I do own. There are prompts, and I can't remember them, but when I list the books in the description, I'll list the prompts and say which book goes with which prompt. Sounds like a plan. The first book on this list is Dusty, and that is The Windup Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. I have read What I Talk About When I Talk About Running and Kafka on the Shore. The first one, he references Raymond Carver, who isn't someone I necessarily liked when I was younger. I have considered going back and reading him more now that I'm older, but we'll see one day maybe. Kafka on the Shore was absurd. There's a Murakami bingo card, basically. I don't know what this book is about. Toru Okada's cat has disappeared. His wife is growing more distant every day. Then there are the increasingly explicit telephone calls he has recently been receiving. As this compelling story unfolds, the tidy suburban realities of Okada's vague and blameless life, spent cooking, reading, listening to jazz and opera, and drinking beer at the kitchen table, are turned inside out, and he embarks on a bizarre journey, guided, however obscurely, by a succession of characters, each with a tale to tell. I read the blurb. All I can guess is that as it is Haruki Murakami, there will be cats, there will be noodles, there will be some sort of pseudo-sexual dreamlike scene, absurdism, and that's usually what you get with Murakami. Next, we have The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy, and this book is one that someone called their favourite book when I was at university, and so I purchased a copy, then I gave the copy away. This could be my 5th copy of the book, it could be my 1000th copy of the book, I do not know, and let's just see what this book is about. Esther and Rahal, 7-year-old twins, are growing up amidst vats of banana jam, mountains of peppercorns and scenes of political turbulence in Kerala. When their beautiful young cousin Sophie arrives, their world is shaken irrevocably. An illicit liaison and tragedies accidental and intentional expose things that lurk unsaid in a country drifting dangerously toward unrest. Lush, lyrical and unnerving, The God of Small Things is a literary sensation and modern classic, suffused with sorrow but fueled by wit and magic. Joy, the writer who founded the writing group I attended before all this happened, recently reread this and said that she was going through it slowly and really enjoying the prose and how evocative it was. And she told me that this might be the time for me to read this book, and so it's here, finally. Next we have Girl in Translation by Jean Kwok. Now, this book, along with 2 other books that I will mention in a moment, were actually books that I saved from a rag bin at work, knowing nothing about them. Kimberly Chang and her mother move from Hong Kong to New York. A new life awaits them, making a new home in a new country. But all they can afford is a verminous, broken-windowed Brooklyn apartment. The only heating is an unreliable oven. They are deep in debt, and neither speaks one word of English. Yet there is hope. 11-year-old Kim goes to school, and though cut off by an alien language and culture, and forced by poverty to work nights in a sweatshop, she finds the classroom challenges liberating. In books and learning she'll be saved. But can Kim successfully turn the lost girl from Hong Kong into a happy American woman? And should she? Jean Kwok's powerful and moving tale of hardship and triumph, of heartbreak and love, speak of all that gets lost in translation. We will see what I think of it. I didn't actually know that's what this book was about. I didn't want it to get thrown away, so I saved it. That's it. That's the only reason I got this book. It has these things from Vogue and Marie Claire and She on the cover, and I'm not being funny, but I don't actually think that they're the best people to recommend books to me. Next, we have The Candle and the Flame by Nafisa Azad. Fatima lives in the city of Noor, a thriving stop along the Silk Road. There, the music of myriad languages fills the air, and people of all faiths thread their lives together. However, the city bears scars of its recent past, when the chaotic tribe of Shayateen Jinn slaughtered its entire population, except for Fatima and 2 other humans. Now ruled by a new Maharaj, Noor is protected from the Shayateen by the Ifrit, Jinn of order and reason, and by their commander Zulfikar. But when one of the most potent of the Ifrit dies, trouble brews, and Fatima is changed in ways she cannot fathom, ways that scare even those who love her. Oud in hand, Fatima is drawn into the intrigues of the Maharaj and his sister, the affairs of Zulfikar and the Jinn, and the dangers of a magical battlefield. I started this book already. I'm about 103 pages in, and this is this twist on the Arabian Nights. There's a sense of detachment to the prose. I find the writing incredibly purple and rich and evocative. It's not this bad writing, but I'm hoping that for the final 200 pages I might actually begin to feel something from the characters. I should say that I read that the writer actually wanted to write a story about all these different kinds of women actually empowering one another and being friends with one another, and so far 100 pages in, she's done that really well. There are many different facets to all of the women in here. They feel fully rounded, and so whilst this book might seem like a fantasy novel, I'm thinking that it's actually an exploration of femininity and female friendships with fantastical elements, rather than focusing on it as a YA fantasy novel. Next we have The Girl Who Wrote Loneliness by Kyung Suk Shin. We all know that this author is one of Matthew Sharappa's favourites. I said about how Matthew recently went on Twitter and said how we hadn't read Kyung Suk Shin yet, despite all of us saying we were going to, based on his recommendation. Therefore, I purchased this book. I still don't know what it's about, so let's have a look. Homesick and Alone, a teenaged girl has just arrived in Seoul to work in a factory. Her family, still in the countryside, is no longer able to afford to keep sending her to school, so she works long, sunless days on a stereo assembly line, struggling through night school every evening in order to achieve her dream of becoming a writer. Korea's brightest literary star sets this complex and nuanced coming-of-age story against the backdrop of Korea's industrial sweatshops of the 1970s and takes on the extreme exploitation, oppression and urbanisation that helped catapult Korea's economy out of the ashes of war. But it was girls like Shin's heroine who formed the bottom of Seoul's rapidly changing social hierarchy, forgotten and ignored. I will leave a link to Matthew's review of this and indeed his discussion of the writer's other books in the description. This is going to be the book that I start on the 1st of May, and I actually anticipate just being able to sit in a corner and get it all read. And that's what I'm hoping to do. I'm hoping to be able to just sit down with this one and just get through it all in one go, because I've been hearing a lot about it. I'm very hopeful about this book, and this is probably the one I'm most looking forward to out of this stack of books. Then we have the other 2 books that I saved from the ragbag when I saved Girl in Translation, and the first of them is The Master of Go by Yasunari Kawabata. Yes, I did have to read that title and name of the cover because I'd forgotten about them. This is about a game called Go and a master of it. Go is a game of strategy in which 2 players attempt to surround each other's black or white stones. Simple in its fundamentals, infinitely complex in its execution, Go is an essential expression of the Japanese spirit. And in this fictional chronicle of a match played between a revered and heretofore invincible master and a younger and more modern challenger, Yasunari Kawabata captured the moment in which the immutable traditions of Imperial Japan met the onslaught of the 20th century. The competition between the master of Go and his opponent Otaki is waged over several months and layered in ceremony. But beneath the game's decorum lie tensions that consume not only the players themselves, but their families and retainers. Tensions that turn this particular contest into a duel that can only end in one man's death. This one's here, it's rather short, and it didn't fit any of the prompts, but I thought Why not make the month about Asian literature? Then I have The Silent Cry by Kenzaburo Oh. This was also another winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature and was translated by John Bester. Two brothers, Takashi and Mitsu, return from Tokyo to the village of their childhood. The selling of their family home leads them to an inescapable confrontation with their family history. Their attempt to elude the influence of the city ends in failure, as they realise that its tentacles extend to everything in the countryside, including their own relationship. Oh my lord, there is a lot of failure happening in this book. This has piqued my interest, I must say. Then we have The Samurai by Shusoku Endo, which was also on my TBR for April, but because I haven't got to it, I have decided to shift this along. In 1613, the missionary Father Pedro Velasco's great dream comes true. For the first time, the Japanese are going to cross the Pacific Ocean, and he is going with them. As he sets sail with a group of samurai for Mexico, then Spain, and finally Rome, his zealous hope is that by opening up relations with the Western world, Japan will become ripe for conversion to Christianity with him as bishop. But fate has other plans for Father Velasco. Then I have Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This was translated from the Japanese by Jeffrey Truselot. I don't know, but it was translated by him and it's rather short. In a small back alley in Tokyo, there is a cafe which has been serving carefully brewed coffee for more than 100 years. But this coffee shop offers its customers a unique experience, the chance to travel back in time. In Before the Coffee Gets Cold, we meet 4 visitors, each of whom is hoping to make use of the cafe's time-travelling offer in order to confront the lover who left them, receive a letter from their husband whose memory has begun to fade, see their sister one last time, and meet the daughter they never got chance to know. But the journey into the past does not come without risks. Customers must sit in a particular seat. They cannot leave the cafe, and finally, they must return to the present before the coffee gets cold. Toshikazu Kawaguchi's beautiful, moving story explores the age-old question: what would you change if you could travel back in time? More importantly, who would you want to meet, maybe for one last time? So once again, I could actually end up finishing this before May, but it's here anyway. Then we have The Night Tiger by Yangtze Shu. In 1930s colonial Malaya, a dissolute British doctor receives a surprise gift of an 11-year-old houseboy. Sent as a bequest from an old friend, young Ren has a secret mission to find his dead master's severed finger and reunite it with his body. Ren has 49 days or else his master's soul will roam the earth forever. Ji Lin, an apprentice dressmaker, moonlights as a dancehall girl to pay her mother's debts. One night, Ji Lin's dance partner leaves her with a gruesome souvenir that leads her on a dark trail. As time runs out for Ren, a series of unexplained deaths occur amid rumours of tigers who turn into men. In their journey to keep a promise and discover the truth, Ren and Jilin's paths will cross in ways they will never forget, which I got out of the library months and months ago. I think in 2019 maybe, so probably should get to reading this because it's due back in the library at the end of May. Then we have some books that just are books that I want to get to. So the first of these is The Tower Hill Terror by Dane Cobain. The Tower Hill Terror is on the loose, a serial killer with a grisly MO, and Miley and Lightfold must work fast to take him down before another body is found. But while the duo are chasing clues on social networking sites and the police are waiting for forensics, the Terror sends a message to the journalists at the Tribune, a message written in blood. Can Lightfold, Miley and Chumley catch the killer before it's too late? Or will the Tower Hill Terror claim one final familiar victim? This is the second in the Lightfold series. Dane is a booktuber and author-tuber of Dane Reads. Talk about him a lot. He also edited An Heir to Murder. I really enjoyed Driven when I read it back in 2017 or 2018. I can't remember which, but it became one of my favourite books of that year. And so I have high hopes for The Tower Hill Terror. Then I have 10 minutes 38 seconds in This Strange World by Elif Shafak. What if, after the moment of death, the human mind continues to work for a few more precious minutes? 10 minutes 38 seconds exactly. For Layla, each minute after her death brings a sensuous memory. The taste of spiced goat stew, the goat sacrificed by her father to celebrate the long-awaited birth of a son, the sight of bubbling vats of lemon and sugar which the women use to wax their legs whilst the men attend mosque, the scent of cardamom coffee that Layla shares with a handsome student in the brothel where she works. Each memory, too, recalls the friends she made at each key moment in her life. friends who are now desperately trying to find her. This is on here because I want to read a short book. It's short, but they've packed the words onto the pages. Rather short, but the words are quite small. And I said no to glasses. Finally, Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King and Owen King. Around the world, something strange is happening to women. They are falling victim to a sleeping virus which shrouds them in a cocoon-like gauze. If woken, if the gauze is disturbed, the women become rabid. In the small town of Dooling, West Virginia, the virus is spreading through a women's prison, affecting all inmates except one, the enigmatic Evie. The abandoned men are starting to fight one another whilst the town sheriff, Lila Norcross, is just fighting to stay awake and solve the mystery. But the clock is ticking, and the women of Dooling are about to open their eyes to a new world altogether. I have also had this book forever, and I am only just starting chapter 2. I just keep dipping in and out, and I just want to get through a considerable chunk. And I would also like May to be the month that I finally finish reading The Eighth Life by Nino Harachvili, because that has been on my reading list for so long now. And I enjoy it every time I pick it up, but it's just the fact that it's over at 900 pages. I'm one of those readers nowadays, if a book is long, I just take too much time over it. That is me. These are the books that I plan on reading in May. Have you read any of them? Would you like to read any of them? If you have, do you think that I should prioritise any of the books over others? Do let me know in the comments. Are you participating in the Asian Readathon? Let me know. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and until next time, that is all.